Oh, hey you guys. So whether you're an evening snacker or you eat for boredom or you always want dessert after every meal, this video was made for you. Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, you're going to learn how to stop craving sugar for the rest of your life. Not even joking. After I've reversed my prediabetes and stopped craving sugar and carbs for over 4 years now, I know exactly how you can do the same, and I'll teach you how in just 3 simple steps. So if you want to learn how to stop craving sugar for the rest of your life, keep watching. Have you ever noticed like you always want ice cream after dinner? Or maybe you always want to munch on something when you're bored? So there's a reason why you keep having the same patterns and same cravings for sugar at certain times of the day or in certain situations. And this brings me to our first tip to help you stop craving sugar for the rest of your life, which is you must understand why you have a sugar craving in the first place. The truth is, sugar cravings have nothing to do with your willpower or your discipline. They have nothing to do with your personality or your character traits. There is an actual scientific reason why your brain prefers to eat sugar and carbs and why you're actually wired to eat evolutionarily. So here's the reason why we love eating sweets like ice cream. That's because sweet things like ice cream make us feel good. In other words, eating foods that contain a highly concentrated amount of sugar or refined carbs makes you feel a lot of pleasure. And pleasure is actually what helps your brain learn what activities to keep reinforcing in the future. Think about this for a minute. Things like eating and sex feel really good because those are things that help our human species survive. So if you're doing something that feels pleasurable, like eating, your brain will remember that, and the next time it's time to eat, your brain is going to urge you to eat so that you get that pleasure feeling. Back in the day, during caveman times when food was scarce, we needed this ability to seek out pleasure really strongly because food wasn't readily available. But in this day and age, we are surrounded constantly. We are bombarded by so many forms of instant pleasure, not just with food, but in so many ways we have so much pleasure available to us. Things like Netflix, porn, social media, and like what we're talking about, foods that are really highly concentrated in sugar and carbs that are not naturally occurring from this planet, like they're literally man-made and manipulated to taste really good so that we could buy them over and over because they're very pleasurable. In other words, our brain constantly wants pleasure in a world where literally pleasure is always available in very concentrated amount. So the question becomes, how do you control and override a brain that is literally wired and designed to want pleasure all the time? Well, this is the perfect segue onto tip number 2, which is you have to go on what is called a dopamine fast. Dopamine is that chemical in our brain that delivers those feelings of pleasure when we do some sort of pleasurable activity, just like eating or watching Netflix. And like I said, in this day and age, we have so much instant pleasures available to us that we suddenly have this new threshold of how much pleasure we're supposed to be feeling in our life. The more artificial and concentrated these forms of pleasure come in, the higher this dopamine threshold is raised. So instead of feeling joy and excitement from life's natural pleasures like walking, going on the beach, listening to music, which delivers like normal levels of dopamine, our society nowadays is so used to doing things that deliver much higher levels of dopamine, like eating those foods, that when the dopamine spike is so high, again, our expectation of pleasure in our brain goes up and it raises what we call that dopamine threshold. So how on earth do you fix this? You have to abstain from these dopamine hits. In other words, you have to go on what is called a dopamine fast. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It means for a certain amount of time, you don't engage in the activity that is delivering that overly concentrated amount of dopamine. And instead of engaging in that activity, like eating sugar and refined forms of carbs, you replace it with something that delivers a more natural source of pleasure, just like I mentioned earlier, like walking, talking with friends, spending time in nature, or working out. The great thing about these natural pleasures, as I call it, in comparison to artificial pleasure, is that natural pleasures don't tend to have a net negative consequence on your well-being and your health. While engaging in other things like those artificial pleasures like Netflix and those really concentrated forms of pleasure, those tend to lead you to results that you don't want in your life, like weight gain and also feeling dependent on sugar and carbs to feel happy. Now, before I go on to the last tip, tip number 3, I invite you to download my sugar-free food guide if you want to know exactly what kind of foods can help you go on a dopamine fast. Especially if you've been eating sugar for a while and you've been eating sugar as a way of enjoyment and it's a big habit you want to break, you have to learn how to replace those foods with foods that still feel good but don't come with the huge dopamine spike. So to know what foods to eat, download my sugar-free food guide by clicking the link in the description box below. Alright, you guys, now moving on to tip number 3. My last tip, which is super important, is that you don't want to stop craving sugar and carbs on your own. It's so important to get the support you need, to get the help of a coach, to get the help of a friendship circle or network with other people who also want to change their eating habits, live a healthier lifestyle, and lose weight permanently. The issue with eating things like sugar and carbs and snacks like ice cream and chocolate is that it's very normalized in our society. In fact, in most eating situations and social situations, overeating is actually encouraged, and it's actually something that makes you seem more likable as a person. That is why it's so important.
Sorry, I had to change videos because I lost battery.
That is why it's so important to have the support of people who have like-minded interests as you, so you could keep feeling motivated to keep moving forward, even if everyone around you doesn't agree with how you're eating or might want to judge you. And if you don't currently have this kind of support in your life, that's exactly why I created my Impulse Mastery program just for women entrepreneurs who want to feel in control around sugar and carbs and lose weight permanently. It's with the support of a really strong community that has your back, that knows exactly what you're going through, and that has your success in their mind, that will help you reach your permanent weight loss goals and stop craving sugar and carbs for the rest of your life. So if you're interested in getting the support and the coaching you need to stop craving sugar and carbs literally forever, click the link in the description box below to learn more about my Impulse Mastery program, which is my group coaching program just for women who are entrepreneurs who want to stop craving sugar and carbs and feel in control around their weight loss and feel confident in their bodies and want to start feeling empowered around food. All right, everybody, now you've learned my 3 steps on how to stop craving sugar and carbs for the rest of your life, and it's exactly what I did to help me reverse my prediabetes and stop eating sugar and carbs since literally 2018. If you want to learn more and you want to get my weekly video tips on how to feel in control around sugar and carbs, go ahead and click the subscribe button below and click the bell so you get notified of when every new video comes out. I'll see you guys in the next video.